A hearing takes place tomorrow in Polk County for a lawsuit against the Iowa Board of Regents. Gerhild Kropf, a former University of Iowa employee, has sued the board. Court records show most of the regents have described under oath how they secretly recruited Bruce Harrell to be the university's president, thus circumventing the Iowa Open Meetings law. In an interview you'll see only here on TV9, Chief Investigative Reporter Josh Scheinblum sat down with Kropf to discuss the lawsuit.
Bruce, I've reached out to Kropf, I've reached out to the Board of Regents, I've reached out to the University of Iowa's president, and so far, Kropf is the only one to agree to sit down with I-9 for a one-on-one interview. It's her opinion the process in which Harold was hired was not only unfair, but illegal, and she has tough words for him personally. How did you become the face for this lawsuit?
Well, I was no longer a university employee, and it seemed to me that I had the least to potentially fear from being the face of the lawsuit. And I'm glad you said that. I am only the face. This lawsuit is filed on behalf of all Iowans.
What do you have to gain from filing this lawsuit?
Certainly no financial reward. And as I think really just said, what I gain is doing what I can to preserve the rule of law in a state that I love.
You have anonymous backers who are still at the university, and the reason you're the face is because they've got something to lose. Did I understand that correctly?
I think that may be overstated. I think no one said, "Oh, we're afraid to come out," but it did seem that at the time I was in the best position to do it.
So how many other backers do you have?
Well, in this little group of people who've worked together, there are about seven or eight, I think. But there are a number of other alumni and current staff who many have called and said thank you and have donated to our GoFundMe fund.
Do you plan on publishing who these people are?
You know, I hadn't really thought about it, and I'm not sure they would mind if I said who they are. But I guess I didn't think to ask them, so at this moment I probably wouldn't say who they are.
I followed up with Kropf today about her donor list. She tells me after our inquiry, she asked financial backers if she could disclose their identities. She says they declined. Now, I also asked Kropf about claims that are made in court documents, Bruce, that called this lawsuit into question. We're going to tell our audience and show people what they have to say coming up in part 2 tonight at 6 o'clock.
Thank you, Josh. Well, tomorrow the legal team for the Iowa Board of Regents will be attending a hearing on a lawsuit that says the board circumvented the state's open meetings law when it hired University of Iowa President Bruce Harrell. TV9's chief investigative reporter Josh Scheinblum spoke to the plaintiff in this case.
Bruce, Gerhild Kropf is a former University of Iowa employee who says she's the face of the lawsuit because, in her words, as a former worker, she had the least to potentially fear. She also tells us she has many financial backers. She wouldn't tell us who the backers are because they didn't want their names released. So the Regents issued a statement. They said volunteer public servants are being subjected to potential personal liability based on meritless allegations. Meritless allegations is what they're calling this lawsuit. What would you say to them?
I would say to them that they appear to me to be intellectually dishonest, and my response is that it appears that there's certainly an effort to cover up what was very clearly a conscious decision to violate the law.
But generally speaking, I mean, the university is moving forward. What's the problem?
Well, the problem is, first of all, that there was a rotten process. The hiring of this president occurred through a rotten process. It is difficult for me to imagine that this president was not aware that he was receiving favored treatment.
Some are going to hear that, and they're going to think that this is just sour grapes. Your people didn't get the vetting that you wanted them to get. Somebody else got hired that the Board of Regents thought was qualified, and now you're bringing a lawsuit because you don't like the process.
Indeed, I don't like a process that moves forward violating the law. I have respect for the law. I think fundamentally it is a danger to the health of our democracy if we do not stop and take action.
I invited members of the Iowa Board of Regents to take part in an interview. A spokesperson told me they don't comment on pending litigation. I also invited Bruce Harold to sit down with me as well. In a response, I got an email from a spokesperson who directed my questions back to the Board of Regents. We have more of this interview on our website at kcrg.com. Bruce?